Dumelani Sanbonani Ninjani Molweni Afsheni Tobelanda. Guys, we are here today with international law. I know that you are going to write this module very soon on the 17th. Now, we'll be dealing with the question paper that you have been written last semester. It is November, October 2024. It was international law. Now, we'll quickly go to the business of the day without wasting our time, and then I'll give you how you should have answered that one. Now, we are going to question number one. It says that constitutional international law is among the traditional sources of international law. With reference to the latter statement, kindly answer the following question. In what international legal instrument it is provided that customary international law is indeed a source of public international law? Now, I'll just read all these questions so that when I give the answers, I'll just give all the answers so that we move on to question number two, right? What two requirements must be present for a rule of customary international law to develop? Sorry. What is considered a significant difference between a custom and treaties as source of international law? Now, does the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa recognize customary international law provided for in South African Constitution? If so, cite and the provision and the content. Now, what are the other traditional sources of international law? Now, we have a 1.1 to 1.5, and I will show you how you should have answered this question. Now, these are this is the answers that you should have put on the question number one. You should have put about the Article 38, and then which have provided a proof. And then number two, you should be going to the international rule can match. You talk about the usus and the opinion juries, as you can see. And then number 1.3, you talk about the treaty that states a powerful foundation. And then 1.4, you talk about section 3, the section of the Constitution, which is section 232. And then you talk what the section represent. Then you are talking about other general, which is the civilized nation article, and the other one, which I mentioned here. Then you get the full marks. It was an easier paper. So let's move on to another question. Now, question number two, it says, on the 15th of April 2024, the Armageddon, or an oil tanker under the flag of Radebe and owned by a company registered in Radebe, came under drone and missile attack. This attack took place while the Armageddon was within the territorial sea of Radebe. Several crew members from Radebe were killed in the attack. The H crew, an official military detachment of the Mtembu state, claimed responsibility for the attack. You are a senior legal advisor to the Radebe Minister of Foreign Affairs. You are instructed to draft a legal memorandum outlining international law on the use of force, how Radebe can deviate from this rule, and whether Radebe will be justified should they retaliate. Your legal memorandum must not exceed 1,500 words. So there were a lot of things that you must write about it, and then I will just show you what are the other possible answers that you should have provided. So question number two, these are some of the answers you could be provided. The use of a force, legal memorandum, so that I should put it here. Then you put some of then you rely on the case the way I've been writing, and then you write about those articles, the UN Council, and then you provided all about the use of force, and then what the first measure that the countries must take, especially if you must always spread the peace. If you violate another sovereign, what must be done, and then what about state liability and so on, and other things that you've heard. You talk about the reparation, the retaliation, and so on. You talk about the lot here, as I have provided here in this one, even the self-defense. So these are the ones that I've provided. I've provided even some cases here, and then I've provided a lot in this one. So those are the other possible answers. I don't want to read answers by answers, but those are some of the possible answers, right? Now let's move on to another question. Now we have question number 3, which stated that the Republic of Illinois is a large landlocked African country, the Wildland Federation, the coastal state neighboring Illinois. Then there's a big statement, there's the scenario. I don't want to spend time reading much because you have this question. Now, number 1, what theory of statehood does the noun recognition of subjan speak to and how? And before we move on, we have also the contrast to the theory discussed above with that of alternative theory of statehood. Your answer must make reference to the submission made by scholars on the application of the theory. Now, let's look at those applications. As you can see on the book, on the study guide, on page 10, that we have 2-1, we have a constitutive theory of a statehood, and we have a declaratory theory. So the first one is a constitutive theory, and the other one is a declaratory. Then we follow what has been written in this page, then you get the full marks. So it means that you should have said that this is constitutive theory, which asserts that recognition is a necessary element for establishing international legal personality. Nevertheless, this theory does have its drawbacks. Initially, it remains uncertain how an unrecognized state will operate. Will it be able to act freely without adhering to international laws? It is also uncertain what stance it will take if only certain states acknowledge it. Now, on the number 2, as I said, you are saying that there are 2 theories regarding whether recognition is a requirement for the statehood, the declaratory theory and constitutive theory. Supported declaratory theory, then you argue what they have argued about the declaratory, which is there on that page that I've showed you. So this one should be very simple. Now let's move on. 3.3, the statement where Indian government asserts legal control beyond the capital implies that Welland enjoys 3 distinct competences. What are the 3 competences and what is the difference between them? Your answer must make reference to the appropriate case. As you can see on page 78, there are 3 distinctive powers of competency, which is the prescriptive, enforcement, and adjudicative. So they were expecting you to answer like this: the prescriptive, enforcement, and adjudicative jurisdiction. Then you give those cases that are here. Then you elaborate on those cases the way I have elaborated so that you can get the 25 marks. You go down elaborating, all those all those 3 distinct competences. Then you talk about them until just like the way I have expressed it. Now we go to the last question, which is question number 4. Following a conference on decolonization in international law, your line manager, senior and legal advisor informs you that the trial movement enjoyed a great deal of attention. He asks you to provide responses to the following question, which will form part of his report. What does the acronym TWILE stand for? What informed the development of the TWILE movement? And what are the objectives of the TWILE movement? Now, this is the last one with the 113 marks. I'm going to show you how you should have answered this question. So on the question number 4, you should have showed that TWILE stands for Third World Approaches to International Law. Then you talk about what TWILE is with the reaction to the process of decolonization and all of the way that I've written so that you know about the TWILE. Then we go down to the 4.3 and then you show what is a TWILE, what are the objectives of the TWILE. Then you show the objectives of the TWILE so that you can get the full marks. Now, guys, this was International Law 2024 October, November question paper. As I showed it, it was November 1. So I'm happy that you have won the video. I'm happy that you have watched the video, and then we'll move forward with other videos also. So guys, you can say, guys, that on the TikTok, I'm here, and this is my number. If you want help, you'll get this, you'll WhatsApp to this number, all right?